going into Wrigley today for the clincher. That story is next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a good situation to be in, right? Hey, everybody, Chuck Freimund. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Longtime sportscaster in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you bet $5, your bet wins $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Why are the Brewers a better organization right now than the Cubs? Cubs should be better. Why are the Brewers? We'll get into that. Pitching matchups coming up for Game 3. We'll also get to that. Chourio, did he take a step backward in the workouts on Tuesday? We'll get to that as well. Yeah, it is a great spot to be in, right? Up 2-0. 2-0 is a bonus, actually. You know, you always think going into a series, well, a split. I mean, the road team wants to get the split. I'm thinking 2-0, but you would take 2-0, and we got 2-0, and makes things awfully difficult on the Cubs, and you could hear their fans and everybody just thinking that this season is over. And I get it. That's pessimistic Chicago Cubs fans. But the Brewers just have to finish this off on Wednesday. I do not want to get to a Game 5 back at AmFam Field on Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, whenever it's going to be, because that's anybody's game. They can go down there and win one of these two. If you don't get Wednesday, you hopefully get Thursday. But afternoon game Wednesday, the Brewers, I've been in that locker room before when they've celebrated Game 163 back in 2018. It was my greatest day as a Brewers fan. Yes, my greatest day as a Brewers fan. Yeah, I'm a member of the media, but at heart, man, I grew up here. I'm also a fan. Anybody who says they grew up here and is in the media and has taken the fan thing out of it, they're lying to you. They are flat out lying to you. Don't believe them. But you're not going to get anything but honesty on that, because I'll tell you, I am a fan, and I'm pulling for this team to win this game coming up tonight, and it's going to be a great day and a great night coming back on 94 after doing this show and celebrating a Brewers victory. I do not want to go back down there on Thursday. We'll have to. We will, me and all the Brewers Nation and the people who are taking trains down there and the mess it takes to get to Wrigley Field. Just want to go down there, take care of business, and come back, and hopefully Priester can give us one. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. So right now, the Brewers own this division. Until otherwise, sure, the Brewers sometimes in recent years have not been picked to win this division. I said at the start of the season, until the Brewers show me otherwise, I'm going to pick them every year. And I don't care if they lost Evan Williams or Corbin Burns the year before that. A few years ago, I did pick the Reds. And I was like, you know what? I'm picking the Brewers to win this division until they show us otherwise, because they surprise. And I'm not the only one, but I think I'm in a boat for myself on this, that I did pick the Brewers to win this division. I thought they'd go to the postseason. I did not think 97 wins. I didn't nowhere predicted having the best record in baseball. But here we are. And why are the Brewers the best team in this division? Why are they the owners of the NL Central right now? Well, they developed in their minor league system. They have guys other teams don't have. They have guys throwing 100 who they're not paying a lot of money to, right? And the Cubs will argue, well, you know what? With all the mistakes that we make in our organization, we should be able to outspend teams. Yeah, teams do that. Teams outspend other teams when they make mistakes drafting or developing, or players don't work out, or they make free agent signings that don't work, or they take chances and they pick A over B. And teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets in particular, will spend their way and try to spend their way chasing those bad decisions. And it doesn't always work. Now, the Brewers, as I've always said, their margin of error is not very big. We know the situation they're in, small market. They can't afford to go out and spend a lot of money. Like Rhys Hoskins, if they would have given him a 5-year contract worth $30 million a year, let's say one of those things, man, they'd be hamstrung for a long, long time. They can't afford to do stuff like that. Fortunately, it was only a 2-year deal. They would have never been able to give him if he was looking for a long-term deal, and I'm glad they didn't. Because they have other options right now, and he can't even make the postseason roster. The Brewers can't afford that. Back in the early 90s, the Brewers signed Teddy Higuera. They were bidding up against the Padres, and Higuera stayed as a Brewer. He was like one of the best left-handers in baseball at that time. They signed him 4 years, $13 million. Rotator cuff didn't work out, and the Brewers were hamstrung with 4 years, $13 million. They didn't want to give Paul Molitor $3 million a year back in 1992. 93, went to the Blue Jays, won a couple of World Series. $3 million then, I don't know what it translates to then, but $3 million back then a year was a lot of money back in 1992. Today, the Brewers aren't giving anybody $30 million. That's why they have to do deals like Chourio, get creative about it, and hope it works out. In this case, it has. We don't know what it's going to be like with Chourio when that 8-year deal expires, but it's a beautiful thing right now. The Brewers don't overpay on pitching. Corbin Burns. Imagine if they would have given Corbin Burns $200 million, okay, and he comes up with the injury he did. You know, it's horrible. Corbin's a good guy, and I wish he could have been able to stay here, but $200 million for a guy who's going to be rehabbing, and you don't know what he's going to be like when he's back. That's why they didn't want to take a chance on Brandon Woodruff initially. They didn't want to give him, pay him arbitration. And they eventually did get him back at a 2-year deal. All right. And they got some pretty good use out of Brandon this year. But Devin Williams, they weren't going to overspend to keep Devin Williams. The greedy New York Yankees. Well, we got our starting third baseman out of it. All right. You think the Yankees wouldn't want to have Durbin back? Think they wouldn't want to have him back? Of course they would. Cortez, we spun him off on a trade with the Padres. And yeah, they weren't going to sign. He was in the final year of his deal, and they weren't going to re-sign him. And I'm glad they didn't. So the Brewers, when they get to the end of the rope with a pitcher, he's gone. And it might be the same thing here down the road with a Peralta. I don't see them giving Peralta a lot of money. Okay. They use these guys, these pitchers for six years, and then there they go. They might give a position player. They've done it with Yelich. They did it with Braun. They got Chourio buying out his arbitration, giving him a little bit more money now than what he would be getting in his arbitration years. But that's what the Brewers have to do because the system is not fair in Major League Baseball, as you know, because teams can outspend other teams. There's no salary cap, and the Dodgers can go out and spend a lot of money. But the Dodgers have spent some money on relievers, and now they're hamstrung with some of those contracts. Some of those guys that they brought in for closers are useless, absolutely useless. And I love seeing that. I love seeing when a team like the New York Mets spends all this money on Soto, and they don't make the postseason. They get greedy. They spend David Stearns. He couldn't do that here. He went over to New York, spent all this money. And where did that get the Mets? Overspending doesn't get you anywhere. And I know we complain in the offseason about the Milwaukee Brewers not spending money. Why aren't they spending any money? All these other teams. Yeah, and I see that. But I'll tell you, when Soto signed with the Mets, I was like, God, is that stupid? You know, they spent $17 million a year on Frankie Montes. Stupid. David Stearns should know better. We got Quintana. All right, basically, who played the Mets last year. So it was basically a trade, not officially, but, you know, they got Montes. We got Quintana. Got 11 wins out of Quintana, right? Going to pitch in the postseason maybe tonight. Who knows? But the Brewers don't make greedy, stupid decisions. And that's the one thing about this not having a salary cap, that they have to make good decisions. And they do make good decisions. And their farm system has been great so far. And yeah, there was a time the Brewers would draft pitchers 30, 35 years ago. They would draft the J.M. Golds of the world, but none of those guys ever panned out. None of those, they would get injured or whatever, and it just never worked out. Ben Sheets wasn't here long term. There was a few other guys we could talk about. Had high hopes for, did not pan out here long term. But some of these guys that the Brewers are getting and getting in trades, they're coming here. Jared Caney, amazing. The heat that guy brings. You got, of course, the Miz, second-round draft pick. You got McGill, who was bouncing around a couple of different teams, found a home here. The Brewers have a way of when guys don't work out in organizations, Andrew Vaughn. The Brewers got Andrew Vaughn for Savali, who didn't even stick around in the White Sox organization and is now pitching for the Cubs. And the Brewers might have found their first baseman long-term, we think, right now. Vaughn, struggling in Chicago, came here, and the Brewers organization, fantastic, top to bottom. Yeah, the postseason results have not been there, but it's a really good organization. I hope, though, in this offseason, some of these guys who are doing the drafting and developing and the smart guys in the front office, guys you never hear of, aren't going to other teams. That's what happens. Other teams come in. Hey, that guy who's drafting Mizorowski and this guy, this director of development, let's bring him over here to be the assistant GM. That's what happens. You hope some of that doesn't happen because the Brewers have a lot of smart guys in their organization. Hopefully we can keep those guys. The Cubs, other teams don't. Now, the Cubs, fortunately for us, well, maybe fortunately for they don't go out and spend like the Dodgers, right? They're not going out there and breaking the bank on anybody, right? The Cubs sometimes operate small market, and Cubs, you continue to do you because you're spinning your wheels. And yeah, you got to the postseason year again this year, but you look up a little north and you see the Milwaukee Brewers winning division titles and on the verge of winning this series. Got a great fan base, the Brewers. And you saw the article we talked about Contreras. Did not want to come to Milwaukee from Atlanta. Got here and loved it. That's the way guys are. Guys initially don't want to come here. K-Rod, when he got traded here in 2011, didn't want to come here. They get here, and they feel right at home. They love it here. All right. Brewers can't make mistakes like these other teams can do and financially cover up, and the Brewers haven't. And that's why the Brewers are in the position they are. And that's why they're in an elimination game with Priester on the hill. Made a great trade for Priester. Yeah, at the time, I thought they overpaid for him. But obviously, I talked about that. And 13-3, pitching in game 3. His numbers have not been great against the Cubs. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the game 3 starting pitchers. I'll give you some numbers for both guys who are going. Both Taillon for the Cubs and Priester for Milwaukee. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers brought to you by FanDuel. NFL, NBA, NHL season underway. And right now, new customers, you bet $5. You get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. You put down $5, maybe on a playoff game. And if that hits, you unlock $300 into your account. Bonus bets to use across the app. They're live betting, second to none. Easy to use. You want to be able to navigate around, and you can easily on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. Like I said, pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, $300 in bonus bets to use across the app for just winning a $5 bet. It's put into your account. The live plays, check them out. Go to FanDuel.com right now. Give it a test run. Look through it. Download the FanDuel app today. FanDuel app, get started. And that bonus, $300 if you hit your first $5 bet with FanDuel. And I'm Chuck Freimund. Plenty to come here in a little bit. We'll talk about the pitching matchups. This is the point of the episode. I thank you for tuning in here on Locked On Brewers. And I tell you how to get the podcast. If you're already watching us on YouTube, go to the audio platforms. We're on all the audio platforms like Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads out there. Or the number one Brewers podcast because of you great Brewer fans out there listening to us every day and trusting in me and my work here and all that. And I can't thank you enough. And I run into you guys at games, and I'm hoping to run into you. We'll be doing the show from Wrigley coming up later on tonight. We'll be doing the show from Wrigley. So that's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully I'll have the champagne. I'm going to go in and be in the locker room. I'll be kind of dressing. You always got to dress poorly for those champagne celebrations because you don't know who's going to douse you or where that champagne is going to come from. You got to protect your microphone, your recorders, and all that. That's all good. But we got to win the game first. But we'll be broadcasting tomorrow night. Doing the podcasting tomorrow night. I'll be doing some broadcasting as well, but doing this podcast from Wrigley late Wednesday night. So anyway, if you already get us on the audio platform as well, we're on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And when you subscribe to YouTube, and all the content is free, you're going to get our free after the game. I always download a little 60-second instant reaction video. You'll get those coming to your phone free, and you'll get my instant reaction on Brewers games, following Brewers games, or anytime anything major happens to the Brewers. I always do a little audio. I cover all the Brewers. I cover the Brewers games. I'll be on the road. I'll be doing wherever the Brewers are, as long as they're alive in the postseason. And on this podcast, we're doing a daily podcast 7 days a week. We're doing this every day. We're doing this. All right, Quinn Priester, 13-3, 3.32 earned run average on the season in the elimination game at Wrigley. Now, I don't know if you saw the pictures or anything about that, but we talked to him last week, and he grew up a Cub fan, went to the World Series in 2016. He went to Game 5. There's pictures of him as a little kid going with his grandfather. His mom, through her work, got tickets. So he's been to hundreds of Cubs games, grew up in suburban Chicago, and he is pitching in an elimination game against the Brewers, against the Cubs. We hope he's pitching for the Brewers. But he's been great this year. Now, his last start against the Reds was not very good. All right. Regular season, gave up 9 hits, 5+ innings. It was not very good. And of course, snapped the streak where they had won 19 straight against the Cubs. He had won 19 straight against the rest of Major League Baseball. The Brewers had won 19 straight games with him on the hill. Against the Cubs, the numbers haven't been great. August 21st, he had some issues, command issues, 4 1/3, 4 Ks. He got out of there. In May, he absolutely got shelled in a loss at Wrigley, just shelled. And I believe that's the last time he lost a game before he went on that 19-game run. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was. The numbers, the Cubs hitters versus Priester: Horner, 4 for 10 lifetime, PCA 2 for 7 with a home run, Suzuki 3 for 10 with a home run, Bush 2 for 8 with a home run, Happ 3 for 6. The hitters on the current Cub roster combined against Priester lifetime, 299 batting average. For the Cubs, Taillon, who's bounced back, didn't have a very good year last year, but he had a really good year this year, Taillon, for the Cubs. 11-7, a 3.68 earned run average. Pitched really good in Game 3, the clincher for the Cubs. Went 4 innings. I thought that Counsell pulled him kind of early. He was sailing along. It turned out they ended up winning the game anyway. But some numbers against Taillon. Numbers against Taillon: Yelich is 13 of 36. Pretty good numbers there. Chourios 7 of 13. Frelick 5 for 20. Ortiz just 2 of 11. Contreras is 4 for 24. 4 for 24. Terrain 4 for 20. Durbin 1 for 7. Bowers 1 for 9. Vaughn 3 for 9. But Yelich and Chourio, big numbers against Jameson Taillon, who's the Cub pitcher, coming up Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock, a little bit later on today. So that's the way they stand. All right, we're going to give an update on Chourio. Tuesday was a anniversary day for the Milwaukee Brewers for something special. And some final thoughts on Game 3. We come back after this timeout. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Rugiet, another sponsor of Locked On Brewers. You've heard of Viagra, Cialis. Maybe you even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to go with Rugiet. Rugiet, go along with them. The effects can last up to 36 hours. Confidence all day and all night, and even into the next day. Ready to live up your confidence? Head to Rugiet.com. That's RUGIET.com. Use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB. 15% off your first order. Rugiet, RUGIET.com. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure you use the code, and you'll get a discount there. So it's perfect for you. You've tried Viagra, Cialis. Now it's time to go with Rugiet. Go along with Rugiet. All right, down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. All right. 14 years ago on Tuesday, the Brewers did clinch a wild card series against Arizona. They won it on Morgan's walk-off base hit. That's where the Brewers won the first two games of the series. Went out to Arizona, couldn't get out of their own way, and then came back home for Game 5. Axford blew it, the save chance, a rarity, blew the save chance. They went to the 10th, and Morgan with the base hit up the middle. And there was bedlam, and that was a great moment in Brewers history as well. 14 years ago, Morgan, a legend in Brewers history, and I remember him in the locker room after the game, and as champagne was spraying around, he was crying in front of his locker, and I believe he was crying because he was thinking about his grandfather or something like that. But it was an emotional moment for him. But it was a great day for the Brewers. They had won a playoff series for the first time since 1982 when they beat the Angels. As you see, if we're looking at my Locked On Brewers studio, yes, a pennant. That's when they beat the California Angels at the time in 1982. They win the American League Championship Series. All right. Chourio. Apparently at the end of the game on Monday night, he was taken out in the 9th inning. And he was taken out not because they wanted to give him a rest or anything like that, because according to the Brewers, the hamstring was flaring up a little bit. Not good. He went through light workouts Wednesday. Hamstring isn't doing great, but it was flaring up at the end of the game on Monday night, and they got him out of there. Chourio in this series so far is 5 for 7, 2 doubles, home run, 6 RBIs. Yeah, need him. We'll see if he's in the starting lineup on Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, they're not like getting the news that the hamstring is flaring up. Again, we're going to have to wait now, a few hours before game time, to see if he is going to make the start or play. Again, I was surprised they didn't DH him and put Yelich out there in left field. Maybe they do that on Wednesday. Who knows? Got to have Chourio in this lineup. Not absolutely necessity, but you'd love to have him. Brewers have other guys I think can do the job on this team. Okay, like a Mike Collins. But we'll see. Curious to see when that lineup comes out as well. By the way, did you see Devin Williams? So far, he's been great for the Yankees in the postseason. Now, regular season was just absolutely awful. 3 1/3, 2 hits, no earned runs. You know, he gave that home run to Alonso last year, and it carried over to this regular season. But we'd do it every time. Getting Durbin. Again, might have been wrong that didn't think we got enough back for Durbin. I think if the Yankees would have a redo on that, they would love to have Durbin. And if Devin Williams, man, could have been here blowing saves. My goodness, that was a telltale sign at the end of the season last year in the postseason when he gave the home run to Alonso. So it's all worked out. I can't get enough of watching Contreras hitting that home run, dialing up and putting down the phone. I can't get enough watching that. I love watching that. To me, that's the moment so far of the postseason. Watching Contreras hitting that go-ahead home run and dialing up the phone. Kind of out of character, I think. I didn't expect that. Like I said, we need some personality in baseball. And Williams certainly showed it, dialing up and slamming down the phone. He knew it was long gone. And we could reprise that again. As he said after the game on Monday, Someone asked him, William, who are you calling? I was calling Brewers fans. Love it. But you know what it was? Remember when Contreras hit that home run earlier this year? That ball was still in flight, and Counsell was in the dugout calling the pulpit already, looking for a new pitcher. He was totally trolling Counsell on Monday night. You know that. I love it. All right, let's get a sweep. How sweet would this be to sweep this series? I just want to win the series, but to get a sweep against the Cubs, I guess fans on Monday night wasn't as bad as it was on Saturday with altercations. Monday was pretty good. Saturday, not so good. One big incident. Let's hope all goes good on Wednesday. Win or lose, right? We don't need any of that. All right, everybody, let's have a great day on Wednesday. Wherever you're watching the game, have fun, enjoy the game, be safe, and let's have a victory, right? We'll be back here late, very late Wednesday night after the game, a few hours after the game. I got a broadcast. I got to do some stuff, and then I'll be doing the podcast from Wrigley Field. I don't know where, somewhere there. I'll find a spot to do it, but I'll be doing it from Wrigley Field so we can either celebrate or we can look ahead to Game 4 and recap a Game 3. But hopefully Priester can give us one. Somebody can step up offensively against Taillon, and the Brewers get the job done on Wednesday and win their first playoff series since 2018. My name is Chuck Freimund. Thanks, man. Appreciate you Brewers fans. You guys are the best. Yes, it's set off at a lot. This fan base, that fan base, the greatest fan base in the world. But I feel like with the loyalty of the Brewers fans, since you have no championships, you guys are the best fans in pro sports. That's going to do it. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Chuck Freimund. We'll see you back late Wednesday night here on Locked On Brewers.